Hi, I am Caitlin, and welcome to the Lit Review. I am kind of retroactively kicking off the Merry Bookmas or Season-a-thon, and this is hosted by Melanie from Completely Melanie, Clint from Reads Reader, and by Kaylani from Kaylani's SimplyMe. I'm so excited about our hosts and this whole theme for a readathon. If you don't know, it goes on for the entire month of December, which I love. I love month-long readathons because I'm like a little on the slower side and, need the extra time. But there are 12 prompts for this readathon. You're not required to read them in any particular order or complete them all, but, there are 12 of them, so do with them as much or as little as you can. It's really just about having fun and participating. I, however, am a stubborn wretch who is going to try to read these in order. Because the entire thematic for this readathon is mimicking the 12 Days of Christmas carol. On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me, like that little carol. So I'm going to run you through what those all are really, really quickly. And then I'm going to get you into some of the footage I've already filmed for getting us together on this thing. So first and foremost, you have Partridge in a Pear Tree. Read a book with a bird, fruit, or tree on the cover or in the title. Number 2, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reader is read a red book. 3 is Silent Night, don't judge a disability by its visibility, so a book with disability rep. 4, I have a little dreidel, read a book that involves a game. 5, I'll be home for Bookmas. Read a book in your favorite cozy spot at home. This is one of the only challenges that is not actually about a book, but is about like an action that you're taking while doing the reading. Number 6, Baby It's Cold Outside. Read a cozy book. 7, All I Want for Bookmas Is You. Read a romance or a book with a friend group. Sidebar, really appreciate that the co-host for this kind of included that because not everybody wants to read romance, so having the friend group alternative is really cool. Number 8, Happy Kwanzaa. Read a book by or about a person of color. Number 9, My Favorite Things. Read a book featuring a favorite trope. And then number 10, Last Bookmas. Read a book that came out in 2019. Number 11 is Underneath the Tree. Read a book gifted to you or gift yourself a book. Girl wishes. And then number 12 is I Want to Wish You a Merry Bookmas, which is read the group book, which is The Deceivers by Kristen Simmons. I fixed it. Or you can do a buddy read. And again, I really appreciate that the co-hosts have given us some options there because I do not know if I'm going to be able to get a hold of The Deceivers in time. And then they have like a bonus thing. It is Good King Wenceslas. I am definitely saying that wrong. But give someone your favorite book or a book that person has been wanting. So that's if you're in the gift-giving spirit or frame of mind. But that's the quick and dirty rundown for this readathon. But without further ado, let's get into me actually reading stuff because that's way more fun. Okay, hello, my wonderful friends. I am coming to you after work. There we go. To kick off the Season-a-thon, the winter Season-a-thon. I think I'm going to try to hit up the first prompt, which is Partridge in a Pear Tree. So the prompt is to read a book that either has a fruit, a bird, or a tree in either the title or the cover. So for that, I am going to start off with Bluebird, Bluebird by Attica Locke. So you get the bird in the title. There are some trees on the cover. No fruit though, so I didn't go for like the hat trick of the prompt. But I'm really excited about this one. I've really been in kind of a mystery mood for the month of December, and so I really want to kick this off and start us off right. So I'm gonna get to working on that. Happy December 1st. Happy first day of Bookmas, and let's see how far I can get down the whole prompt and, progress with this book too. Okay, so it is Friday, December 4th. I'm kind of winding down for the day. I just scrubbed my face down so that I could do a little mask with my evening reading. If you're curious, this is the Origins Original Skin Retexturizing Mask with Rose Clay. I just really want to give myself a little extra, a little TLC. But I also want to check in with you really quick on how the Merry Bookmas Season-a-thon is going. My hair is doing like really weird things since I've got it pushed back with this headband. I don't know what to do about it. So, okay, I'm about 50 or so pages into Bluebird. I didn't read last night because I was up really late working, and then I did not sleep well as a result of that, and I'm really tired tonight, so it's like 9:30, so I'm going to try to read at least another 50 pages, if not more. But before I do that, I just wanted to let you know that this is really good. So far as a 50 pages, I feel really connected to the stakes, to the characters, or at least the main character that we know the most, Darren Matthews, who is already within the first 50 pages. We know that he is a Texas Ranger, but that his personal beliefs may be slightly at odds with the badge. And that's led him to some choices that he's potentially going to lose, or he's on suspension from the Texas Rangers. But he goes to investigate this crime based on a tip from a friend in the FBI. We also know that like his marriage is kind of on the line. So there's a lot of like personal stakes already for this main character. And I really like it. It's very emotionally charged, atmospheric. And what's really cool about it is that it's set in like 2016, and it's implied that it takes place like just after the election, because there's like some vague references to like the political pendulum swing of the country. So it's really interesting, and I can already tell that Attica Locke has like a really good critical lens and like a really deeply rooted lens in like what it means to be Black in East Texas. Which is definitely a major part of that. Obviously, I can't speak to that. I've never lived in Texas, nor am I a person of color. But really loving this from like a mystery thriller. It's got like a slow burn sizzle to it. Like I already know what the stakes are, but we haven't quite gotten to like a big turning point scene, which I think is about right for 50 pages in. So yeah, just a little bit. Hoping to take a chunk out of this, but I'm gonna go put a mask on my face, and then we're gonna go read on the couch where it is a little cozier maybe. Yep, that's a look. It's okay. We're gonna let this do its thing for the next 20 minutes. Do a little reading sprint, and then I'll check in with you after I wipe my face off. Hi, it's December 13th. It's been a hot minute since I checked in with you about the Merry Bookmas readathon. I think the last time we chatted, I was doing some reading on Bluebird by Attica Locke, and I can't remember if I wrapped that or not with you. I'm thinking no. Because I've been very scattered lately, but this was excellent. This was like a really like well-paced thriller with like some mystery elements, and it's really about like the capturing of a space and place and the tensions of that really specific space. In this case, the city of Lark, broadly set in East Texas, and like the racial tensions that are still deeply impacting not just the people, but like the land, everything about it. So like this was such a really good read. I really enjoyed this. This is the first book in a series. I know she has at least one other. It's the Highway 59 series. So I definitely want to check this out. So I'm very happy to have read this. Gonna keep going with this. And this was for Partridge in a Pear Tree. So read a book with a fruit, a bird, or a tree on the cover, and or the title. So this has both birds and trees on the title, or bird and title, tree on cover. There we go. I fixed it. So this, yeah, great first book. And then you're not going to see me read any of this because I just completely skipped over introducing it, and I finished it yesterday. But for the next challenge, since I'm determined to go down the list of the song and the prompts, that is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, read a red book. And so I chose An Ember and the Ashes by Saba Tahir. Plenty of like reds on this cover. So even though like there was a lot of white on the cover, I felt like this still fit. This is the one that I had on my Litland, and I was telling y'all, like, it was actually my challenge, or one of my stuck square things, my challenge squares for not finishing, I think, where I was like a hyped book that I just haven't picked up. This was the hyped book, and I'm not gonna lie to you, for almost half of this book, I was like, okay, why is this so popular? It's good. This was never a question for me of it being bad. It was always like, it's good, but it feels like maybe I missed the boat, because I was starting to feel like this was just like typical fantasy tropey. And then we got to a point in the plot that I'm not going to say anything about because I don't want to give spoilers, but I got to a point in the book where I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is why people are obsessed with this series. I'm on board now. So I was really worried that I had missed the hype on this, but I really enjoyed this. And I'm definitely going to be continuing with the series. This was so interesting. Like the first chunk feels kind of, like I said, tropey. It's not that it's unoriginal. It's just that like, I feel like, especially in fantasy and YA fantasy, sometimes you get bogged down with like these character archetypes that keep appearing, or like narrative tropes that just continue to play out. But I think there's some good twists in here that keep that fresh. And I'm being a little vague, I apologize, but I know the series is big enough that I could probably be more blunt, but I just don't want to give spoilers if you haven't read this. If you're like me and hadn't given this a go yet, I do recommend it. I'm gonna definitely, the next time I can buy books, I'm going to pick up the rest of the series. I know that the fourth book in the series comes out this month in December. So it's like, I'm finally getting with it. But I'm pretty glad about this one. And hey, kicking off another one. So this is a very effective check-in on this readathon. And then last night, after I finished An Ember and the Ashes, actually on Friday, so yesterday, Saturday, I started challenge 3, which was Silent Night. Don't judge a disability by its visibility. Read a book with disability representation. And so I decided to keep going with a series that I started last month. And it's the second book, How to Elude a Vampire by Alice Winters. So it's the second book with Finn and Marcus, the two vampire, like one's a vampire, one's immortal, but they are working on the vampire-related crimes unit in kind of like this paranormal AU where vampires are out and legal and all that good stuff. And so there's a lot of like different crimes that they solve, but they're also in a romantic relationship together. And the disability representation is that one of our main characters, Finn, due to a traumatic accident when he was 16, lost one of his arms and one of his legs. So he has prostheses. I think I'm saying that plural correct. Prosthetics, prostheses. Important for this prompt though is because of his high-tech gear, you can't necessarily tell that he has lost 2 of his limbs. So I think that's kind of an important part of the storyline. And then they spend a lot of time talking both in Finn's head about how he feels and how much he struggles to like be romantic with his partner when he feels, you know, that yes, he feels good about his functionality, but he also like maybe doesn't want this immortal, all-powerful being to see him in a different light. And you also got inside Marcus's head, because at this point they've been in a relationship for several months, but where he wants Finn to feel good. He wants Finn to feel like he sees him as and loves him as he is. And so like getting the dual sides of that narrative and having that be like a really strong component to this romance is really lovely and honest, I think. I mean, I can't speak to it from the disability portion of the representation, but it's lovely to read about. I'll put it that way. And I love Marcus and Finn so much. There are times in this particular book, more so than I think How to Vex a Vampire, the first one, where I'm catching things that like don't feel 100% realistic in terms of the crime and the forensics of it all, but you know what? It's a frickin' romance novel. It's still really good. I gotta let this stuff go. The one thing too is like I laugh so hard at these books. I just think the banter is not what you would necessarily get on a regular basis, but I love it. I love the banter between these two and the other characters in the novel as well. It's not just Marcus and Finn, but like it's so good. So it picks up a couple months after where we left off in book 1, and I'm probably gonna finish it today. I'm hoping to finish it today. I got pretty far on it yesterday. I have to bake cookies tonight. Have to, right? But yeah, I'm gonna bake cookies tonight. Hopefully you're enjoying this readathon too, and I'll check in with you soon. Bye. Hey everybody, it is December 22nd, it is a Tuesday, and it's been a long time since I checked in on you for Merry Bookmas. I've gotten stuck, so I think where we last left off, I had decided I was going to read How to Elude a Vampire by Alice Winters for the disability rep portion of the challenge. Sped through that, loved it, did not see the whodunit coming. So that was really fun. I laugh out loud at that series. I do think the first one, in terms of like quality storytelling, is like a smidgen better. It just feels like there was some, like maybe some repetition or like trying to force the detective know-how a little bit in a way that didn't read super cleanly for me, but I still really enjoyed the novel. It was such a small thing. It's just me being really nitpicky because I'm a nitpicky person when it comes to my books. I still highly recommend that series. I definitely think I'll continue with it. The next challenge after that was, I think I'm gonna maybe butcher the phrasing, but I have a little dreidel, so it was to that's number 4, and that was to like read a book with a game or a game or a competition in it. So for that, I chose Star Daughter, which is without its dust jacket, because I tend to remove my dust jackets when I'm reading. Otherwise they just flop around and annoy me. But Star Daughter, and so this is where I got stuck. I did manage to read like just under 100 pages last night, so I'm not quite halfway there. I think you can tell. Ta-da! Like that's where I am. But I really hit a stumbling block when I got about 100 pages into this because I was just not feeling it. And I do think I'm glad I returned to it because it is picking up. It is getting a little bit more interesting. But I'm really kind of struggling. Sometimes our own expectations and perceptions can be our worst enemies when we're going into a book. And I think that's like a really valid thing for us as readers. This time around, based on the description, I don't think I understood that this was a contemporary fantasy. That did not compute to my brain based on what I understood from the dust jacket. And there's nothing wrong with a contemporary fantasy. But when it comes to YA in particular, contemporary fantasy, unless we're talking about legitimately like witches, I just don't connect with it as easily. And the first 100 pages, which is how far I got in before I was like, I don't want to pick it up again, was really set in that contemporary space with just like little bits of the fantasy. Because again, we are following Shital, who is half star, and then she reaches her majority and starts to like feel this call home. But simultaneously to that, she hurts her dad, like not having control of her star powers. She like hurts her dad, and the only way that her dad can be healed is to get help from the stars. So she goes on this epic journey to the celestial heavens, and it's really steeped in some legends that come from that really just rich cultural heritage. And this is where, again, I'm going to call myself out. I'm going to own what my problems are. I am much older than a teenager, and I've reached the point in my adulthood where when I watch things like Disney movies, I start to identify with the adults and not the princesses or the kids, because I'm like, yeah, you made some terrible decisions. So I'm not aged out of YA. I do not believe that there's a like aging out of YA in the truest sense. Your tolerance for certain things might be lower. You may not find as much joy in it. That's fine. I think anybody could read young adult, just like anybody could read middle grade or children's books and find joy. Reading is about finding joy. I struggle sometimes with teenagers in the contemporary sense, because they are those teenage characters are struggling with very real things that are valid for a teenage life. Don't get me wrong, I am not coming for teenagers. I am, however, past the point of wanting to have or engage with the troubles that they are dealing with, if that makes sense. So that's my stumbling block with this one. I think I'm pushing past it because we're much more into like the competition, the game aspect of this to fulfill that prompt. And I still really love the mythological aspects of this. I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna go. I'm like halfway through, hoping to finish this either today or tomorrow, because I'd like to move on. I've stutter stepped over this enough. Yeah. Shweta Thakkar's writing is good. She really does capture this teenager Shital so well, and like her drives for family, but also that she wants to be independent and wants to be seen for who she really is, and that she's had to hide a lot of that. And I do have a lot of compassion for that. Like that part of the emotional resonance is working. The drama with the boyfriend is not doing it for me right now, but we'll see how that goes. I also want to just talk to you all a little bit more openly and honestly about something that I've been struggling with, both in this channel and in just life. So like at the end of this, I was giving you like this really cheerful, like, oh, I'm going to show you, we're going to make cookies together. And I definitely made those cookies and like ate those cookies. But I got really bogged down mentally with like showing you a messy kitchen, and showing you me making a mess. And for some reason that really like triggered my anxiety. And then it just snowballed because I felt guilty for not vlogging right or vlogging enough stuff. And then I felt it like compounded into feeling bad about me as a YouTuber, as a content creator, as a person who's participating in this community, because I stopped responding to comments. I felt my anxiety got so bad, I stopped responding to your comments. And I still haven't, like as of today, December 22nd, I still haven't sat down and responded to all the wonderful comments that y'all have been leaving on my videos. I have not been watching other content creators' videos with any consistency. I got so in my head, and I'm still so in my head with my anxiety, that's the roadblock for me. Like literally me being like, oh, I don't want to film baking cookies because my kitchen's a little messy, which it's fine. It's a kitchen. I'm baking, but that's how anxiety snowballs for me. And I promised you in my very first video that I was going to be honest and make this a safe space to talk about things like this. And I want to keep that promise and keep true to that promise, because it's just been a huge weight. And I haven't even filmed an update for you on this video. I didn't put anything up this past Saturday. because I was so anxious and didn't think anything I was doing was good enough. So this is like a perpetuating cycle that I'm going to try to get myself out of by talking to you. Because when I say it all out loud, I hear that it sounds not worth my time. I hear that it's something I can conquer. But the act of conquering it, the act of moving past that roadblock, is a different story altogether. I hope that I can move past it. But I just wanted to be honest with you about like this god-awful journey that my anxiety has taken me on during the middle of this month. Like it just became all-consuming. And I just want to say that I'm sorry if I haven't responded to your thoughtful comments, because so many of you, all of you, really leave me wonderful, thoughtful comments, and I love engaging with you. I really hope that my anxiety unblocks, and I'm gonna try to respond to them because that matters to me. And I hope that that's clear. I hope that you know that. Yeah, I'm gonna try to film some more videos today and do it for the fun of it, because I think when I get deep in my anxiety like that, I lose the fun of what this channel is and what it can be. So that's the emotional burden that I am trying to put down right now. And I just wanted to be honest. I'll stop talking in circles now, but thank you for listening. If you made it this far into the video, hopefully I will get back to reading too. And I'll take you along with me when I do that. So in the meantime, if you are also, for whatever reason, struggling with something similar, know that you're not alone. Know that your feelings are valid, even if they're not true or kind to you. And know that whatever roadblock is in your path, you can move past it. It's going to be okay. And I will see you sometime soon, hopefully. Hi, it is December 29th. It's a Tuesday. Oh boy. I haven't checked in with you in a whole week for a couple of reasons. One, because of the holidays, and I just kind of wanted to cozy up and just spend some quality family time, at least as best I could during this season. The other thing is that I have been avoiding you again, because I've made next to no progress, or at least until yesterday. So, yeah, I'm rambling. I'm rambling to cover the fact that I have been avoiding Stardaughter again. I did finally finish it yesterday, which is why I'm here to check in with you, because I have something to say. But yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with this. I just didn't grab me, and I kept finding excuses to read other things. So I actually, in the midst of attempting to read this, read 2 other books. But I did finally complete this. It is not a bad book. It just didn't like wake me up, you know. I'm still happy to have read it. I do have 2 copies of this book, which I now think that I definitely don't need 2 copies. We'll see if I decide to keep one or not. I'm still figuring that out. So I know at the beginning of this vlog, I was like, I'm just gonna do everything in order and see how far I get. We're gonna throw that out the window so I can complete as many challenges as I can, and I'm gonna try to retrofit those 2 books that I read in the middle of reading Stardaughter into our remaining challenges. I basically have until Thursday to make some more progress here. So Stardaughter was my challenge for number 4. I have a little dreidel, which was read a book about that involves a game. I kind of twisted that a little bit because Stardaughter does have a competition, and the competition aspect was definitely one of the more compelling parts of that book. Number 5 is I'll Be Home for Bookmas. Read a book in your favorite cozy spot at home. So I already did that at least once during this vlog. Number 6 is Baby It's Cold Outside. Read a cozy book. So this is where we're going to get into some of the books that I read during my reading of Stardaughter, and kind of like fit them in there, because I did read them. I do have opinions about them, and they are also part of my lit land, so I'm really just checking off as many boxes as I can here. For the Baby It's Cold Outside, read a cozy book, I finally tackled the chocolate chip cookie murder by Joanne Fluke. This is a cozy mystery, so I'm gonna, fit that in there. This was definitely something, I read this specifically over Christmas. I just curled up in a chair and read a chunk of this on Christmas Day and then the day after Christmas, and it was it's a thicker book, but it's deceptively thick because there's actually 100-page short story in the back, and there's also recipes interspersed throughout because the main character of this book, Hannah Swenson, runs a little shop in her town of Lake Eden, Minnesota called the Cookie Jar, and cookies are obviously a huge part of her life. It's also a huge part of how Hannah navigates living in this town because she freaking bribes everybody with her amazing cookies. So it's the first in a very long-reaching series, and as I understand it, all of the names are themed around sweets and cookies or candy or whatever. So I think I'm going to continue on with the series. I'm not convinced that I need to own all of them, so this may be a library continuation, which is, I think, a great use of your library. If you liked something but don't necessarily need to keep it all, that's literally what the library is for. So that's probably where I'm going to continue with this. I did enjoy this. I know I don't talk star ratings with you during vlogs, but I can tell you ahead of time that there were a couple of things in this book that definitely knocked it down several stars for me. I did still like this. I do plan on continuing, but yeah, there's just some stuff like the fact that I've already told you she runs a cookie space. She talks about how everybody in her frickin' town has a breakfast cookie, which is fine, by the way. This is not what my skepticism face is for. The skepticism face comes for what's next. Yet she's fat phobic? It annoyed the living daylights out of me. Also, while I'm ranting about things, you're probably gonna hear this again, but I am sorry. She's like a 28-year-old woman. I am really tired of female authors in particular being like, oh, she's almost 30. She's not married. And internalizing all of that BS into her characters. Her characters are thinking this, but this is clearly the author's own hangups, and I'm not here for it. Because guess what? I'm 30. I am currently unwed, and I frickin' love my life. I also think my body is awesome. I'm the happiest I've ever been in my body, even though this is the most I've ever weighed, technically, in it. So, can we just go away with the the fat shaming? Can we go away with these oh, she's so alone and such a spinster because she's almost 30 and no. Look, I get that some books were written in a slightly different time with slightly different societal expectations, but they're wrong. And it made me mad. This is also something that has really bothered me about some Christina Lauren books, so I'm not specifically picking on just this one book is the only thing that does it, but we gotta stop talking about 30 as if it's a foot in the grave, because it ain't it. What I think I'm gonna like about the genre of cozy mysteries is that it seems to move very heavily around just people being nosy. Very nosy people trying to figure stuff out when they're not actually detectives. And that speaks to me as a person. So yeah, I do enjoy this, would recommend it, but I would, for me personally, recommend it as a library pick and not a read to own kind of deal. So we'll see. We'll see how far I get in this series. I do at some point really want to sit down and try to make some other recipes because they seem like a lot of fun, and I just want to see how that goes. There's a bunch of recipes in here, especially with the short story, which also has the recipes sprinkled throughout. So I don't want to make them all because that's a lot of cookies. There's between the two stories in here, I think there's at least 12 to 15 recipes. I don't want to commit myself to making that much, but I would like to try. This was also apparently made into a Hallmark movie in 2015, and I can't easily find it, but I'm still very tempted to pay the money on Amazon or another streaming service to watch it, because I kind of gotta know, especially because it's a Hallmark movie. Okay, so number 7 would be All I Want for Bookmas Is You. Read a romance or a book with a friend group. So for this one, I read another book while avoiding Stardaughter, and that one was Proof of Seduction by Courtney Milan, which is a romance. And it's, again, really glad that I finally got around to reading some Courtney Milan this year, because I'm a big fan. I love her writing. This one, again, tiny volume, so this is initially the book that I read in the middle of pausing Stardaughter for the first time, because I thought, oh, it's small, it's wee, it'll shoo me on out the door and I can get back to it. But then I got distracted again by Chocolate Chip Cookie Murder. But Proof of Seduction is, I think, an excellent example of why Courtney Milan is one of my new favorites in the historical romance space, because she takes character tropes and turns them on their head, or like gives them hidden pockets of backstory and depth that just make them really compelling characters that feel like they are a natural fit within the genre, but are also pushing boundaries at the same time, and I love her for it. Like, all of her characters, even her side characters, feel so fully realized. I'm just a big fan. You'll definitely hear me gush about this in my wrap-up for December, but I really like that the main female character is kind of a grifter and has masqueraded as a fortune teller, because I think that's just like such an original premise for a character. So she ends up meeting and falling for this very literal, logical, scientific-minded Marquess who is trying to debunk her mysticism, but you know, she's pretty aware that it's a fraud, but she's trying to save her living. So it's really well written, it's really excellent, and there's a lot of a good tension. I think this may have been Courtney Milan's like first published book, and it is a series, or at least a duology. I think there's at least one more in this, but it's the Carhartt series, so this is book 1 in that series. But number 8 is Happy Kwanzaa. So read a book by / about a POC or person of color. So I actually need to finish this book for my rollover on Litland. I got like a little chunk of the way through it, but it's the perfect time for me to finish Pride by E.B. Zaboy. There's 289 pages in this book, so I think I can do that in like a day and a half, especially because I've already got like a little bit of a start. Not a huge one, because I did roll this one over, but like, yeah, I got this much of the way through it. Also, just for transparency's sake, simultaneously reading Fierce Fairy Tales by Nikita Gill. And this one I've just been doing a little bit before bed, and I'm about halfway through. And it's been pleasant. There's things I like about her poetry style, there's things I don't. But so far so good. I'm not like mad at it. This is definitely like a fun take on mythology and fairy tales. And again, I love it when authors turn those kind of traditions or tropes on their head. So it is kind of working for me in that same way. But it did do this. Also, I just want to shout out really quick, if you see the new addition to the board back here that says The Lit Review, that was a Christmas present from Christina, who's part of my like extended family. It's Jeremy's sister, and it's my new favorite thing. I freaking love this. Is going to be a permanent addition, so this stays back here. So thank you so much, Christina. She watches my videos, so like thank you. It's literally my favorite thing. I cried when I opened it. It was such a thoughtful and sweet, supportive gift, and it meant the world to me. So just wanted to shout it out and give her some extra love. But yeah, that's it for now. Well, I'll check in with you again soon, and I'll wrap this video up probably tomorrow, so that I can post it. So yeah, it's been a month, but thank you for being here with me. Talk soon. Hey everybody, it is December 31st, New Year's Eve. You can tell we've kind of decorated just for ourselves. And it's the last day of the Season-a-thon readathon, so I kind of owe you a check-in. I did promise one of those. So I just wanted to let you know that I finished the 2 books I mentioned in my last official check-in. I finished Pride by E.B. Zaboy, and this was one that I kind of dawdled with. If you remember, it was something I rolled over from November's Litland picks. I actually finished it really quickly, like in about a day. after I picked it back up again. It goes pretty quick. There are some moments that are really good because it's a Pride and Prejudice retelling, and then there are some moments I really struggled with in terms of it just not being a developed enough, or basically not being a story that I think could like totally stand on its own without the retelling structure. But then there are portions of it that are so good. Like our main character Zuri is a poet, and so I think some of the strongest moments of this book are actually when you get to see her poetry and have her read it. So things like that I wish there had been more of, and it did start to pick up more as the novel went on, and that's where I feel like the novel really found its stride. So kind of a middle of the road hit and miss kind of scenario, but I did finish this. And then while I don't necessarily have this as a set challenge, I did also finish Fierce Fairy Tales by Nikita Gill. And this is a poetry and kind of short story collection, although I think even the short stories are pretty poetry oriented, and it's really all just twists and turns on classic fairy tales. And I liked this. This was reasonable. There are some really amazing turns of poetic phrase in here. And then there are some sections that just feel like a little too much Instagram poetry for me personally. So again, kind of middle of the road. Not mad at it. Actually really enjoyed this. There's some, like I said, amazing lines in here that totally blew me away. But this is kind of where I'm going to leave you on the whole readathon situation. I did not finish all the challenges, but that's okay. It was never about finishing all of them so much as it was just seeing how far I could get in the whole thing. So I just want to say thank you again to all of the hosts, Clint, Melanie, Kaylani. This was a really fun way to spend my December. And, you know, I'm going to spend the last little bit of it celebrating with Jeremy, just the two of us in this apartment, and enjoying these cute little decorations. This has been a really fun adventure. Not just this readathon, but the whole starting a YouTube channel, building a bookish community. So when I look back on 2020 as a questionable year, this channel and this community that we're building together is one of the big things I'm really grateful for. So just, I want to leave you with that for the readathon. Just thank you for being here, and I'm looking forward to what we build together next year. So with that in mind, before we get too much closer to midnight here, thank you for spending the time with me. I hope you have a fantastic reading day. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more of me or this channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!